Hi guys, I'm Success here, correcting biblical misconceptions. So in case you see any video that popped out on your FYP and as a Christian you are confused, is this really true? Does God say this? Does the Bible record it? Does the Bible say this? And you just need my 2 cents, my perspective, do not fail to send it to my DM. So now today I'm correcting this biblical misconception that has been said over and over again, especially by atheists and those that have left Christianity. They said that God is pro child marriage, the Bible records child marriage. Now, I also need you to understand that one of the ways to be able to read this Bible and be able to not get confused, understand context. When I mean context, understand the circumstance surrounding that verse, understand the cultural times surrounding that verse, understand who is writing it, to who are they writing it to, why are they writing it. You don't just pick one verse and just start saying it. Another thing you need to understand that these verses, people pick it and in your own myopic understanding, you are reading it as if maybe that Bible was written in today's world. No, you will only be saying something that is factually wrong, biblically incorrect. The Bible times were written in a heavily patriarchal time and also in a highly cultural society. And as at that time, child marriage is allowed because of their cultural time. Even though the child marriage was allowed, it does not mean that the biblical times they were just giving out unmatured children in marriage. No, that is why there is betrothed. Betrothed means they'll be waiting while they grow into maturity. So at that time, marriage was dependent on family arrangements. Marriage was dependent on their cultural norms at that time. What was their cultural? Just like the way, I don't know what example to use, but for example, your irrespective ethnic groups, that is the way it is. Marriage is based on their cultural norms at that time. And marriage is also based on physical maturity. The both of them must at least be at pubertal stage before they are giving out in marriage. Now, truthfully speaking, the Bible is silent on the required age for a person to get married. That is, the Bible did not give us that at age 20 get married, at age 25 get married. However, there are biblical principles that reflect a time a person should get married. Now, one of the biblical principles that reflects the age when somebody should get married, I want you to understand that somebody can be 30 and not be matured yet. Somebody can be 25 and be matured. So the Bible focuses on what is core, what is important, and not what is age. Genesis 2:24 says, "A man shall leave his father and his mother." A man shall leave. That is expressing that any man that is deciding to get married talks about independence. You should not be still dependent. It talks about maturity because you must have been matured to be able to say you are leaving your father and mother to be able to fend for yourself. Genesis 2:24, a man leaving his father and his mother, cleaving to his wife, talks about maturity, responsibility, independence, readiness, and all of these you cannot say in a word, a child. To the New Testament, we have Ephesians chapter 5, we have 1 Corinthians verse 7, talks about mutual care, talks about true love, consent like willingness, and all of these attributes cannot be found in a child. So do you see what I mean? That the Bible does not give an explicit age where you can get married, but it gives an explicit attributes, responsibilities, character traits that you need to possess before you can say you want to get married. And from all of these character trait, you know that this cannot be found in a child. It can only be found in a grown individual. Genesis 2:24, the Old Testament talks about responsibility, talks about maturity, talks about readiness. You leaving your father and your mother, you cannot find that character trait in a child. New Testament, 1 Corinthians 7, Ephesians 5 talks about mutual care, mutual love, talks about consent like willingness, consent. You must be able to like giving consent to each other. All of these character traits cannot be found in a child. So do you see that the Bible does not explicitly give an age range to get married, but it gives a character trait you can possess. When you have been able to grow to the level that this character trait is in you, then you are enough to get married. So the Bible recorded times of silence of child marriage because it existed in the biblical times culturally. It does not mean that is what I've told you, that the Bible is descriptive and prescriptive. There is what the Bible is describing. Remember that the biblical times are people's real life existence, just like the way in our world today, if they are to write the Bible, people's real life stories. When you are writing it, people's cultural activities will also show, because humans, our cultural activities intertwined in our activities too. Do you understand? So the biblical time existed in a cultural time and it was written there because this existed. It does not mean that that is what the Bible is prescribing to do, or that is what God is asking us to do. God does not command child marriage. And our second question is that if a woman is raped, that she should be married. The woman will be married. The man that raped her will have to marry her and they will not divorce forever. That is biblically incorrect too. Deuteronomy 22 from verse 25 recorded, when it is an actual and a violent rape, the punishment for the man is death. The other verse that these women use and atheists use to condemn the Bible is Deuteronomy from verse 27 or I think 28 to 29. And that one is more of a seductive, it's not a violent rape, it's a seductive rape or premarital sex. In that one, the man has to marry the woman. Now, why did the law at that time, biblical law at that time, says that he has to marry her? Because as at then, the cultural time that he existed, if a woman is not a virgin, she could be rejected for marriage. And remember that those cultural time is also heavily patriarchal, meaning as a woman, your life, you live and breathe on being married to a man. Do you get? So if you are consistently refused to be married, it simply means as a woman, you will not have basic necessities of life. You are in for poverty. So when the biblical law at that time says that as a man, if you engage in premarital sex, with a virgin, or you maybe a seductive rape, meaning the woman is not innocent from it, you will have to marry her. They were not rewarding the man, they were protecting the woman, saying you have to marry her, not after you marry her you then divorce her and leave her. No, that was the biblical law protecting the women, because at that time women were vulnerable. They were vulnerable. So, and also the Bible recorded in Exodus that the father of the woman can refuse. So do you see that that is biblically incorrect? When actual grape, violent grape happens, that the woman is innocent of it, the biblical law is the man to be killed. He must die. That's the biblical law. But if the woman is not innocent of it, if maybe it's premarital sex, there was a consent from the woman, then the man has to marry her, and it's a way of rewarding the woman and restricting the man, not the other way around. In a nutshell, guys, when the woman is innocent of the grape, meaning that she did not give her consent, the man punishment for violating her is death. But if the reverse is case, the both of them, the woman gave consent and it is a consensual sex, premarital sex, it is like, maybe I don't know the word to use, then in that case the man has to marry the woman, and it's not the biblical law rewarding the man, it's the biblical law protecting the woman who is vulnerable at that cultural time. Because if he engaged in sex with her and she's no longer a virgin, at that cultural time, a woman who is no longer a virgin could be rejected for marriage. She could face lifelong shame and poverty because of that act, because there were no social systems to support her. So the biblical law asking the man to marry the woman was not rewarding the man. Rather, it was forcing lifelong responsibility on the man, punishing him financially, and also protecting the woman from abandonment or being abandoned anytime in the future. The Bible does not command that a woman should get married to her rapist. No, the Bible did not command that. The Bible also did not support grape. It condemns it. That is why the punishment for actual grape, where a woman's consent is not involved, is death. That is the biblical way of not in any way supporting it, rather strongly condemning it. So the biblical law asking the man to marry the woman is no more applicable as at now, because that biblical law was a way of just managing a cultural deficiency. I don't know the word to use, but it's no longer now, because at the time we live now, women can live independently. You can hear women saying they don't even want to get married nor have children. Women are no longer as vulnerable as at that time. So that biblical law is not an all-time law. It was just a law helping to manage harm, to reduce harm in a cultural society where women are vulnerable. So as at now, if something happens like that, the Bible is not saying you must. It is not. That was a biblical time managing a culture where women are vulnerable. Their life depends on them being married, because if they do not get married, they're no longer a virgin, it could affect them getting married. It could bring shame, and when they are not married, it could lead them, bring poverty and all of that. So that was the biblical way of helping towards reduce such harm from men. When you read Bible verses like this, you have to understand that such biblical laws were given to specific ancient society to limit damage, to reduce harm, and it's not an all-time moral principle. Then when Jesus came, we see Jesus talking about dignity, compassion, justice, and all of that slashes such biblical law. It was given to a specific society, ancient society, and it's not an all-time moral principle. In the case of when there is a consent between the man and the woman, the law forces the man to take a lifelong commitment with that woman he has compromised. But in the case where the woman did not give her consent to the sexual act, the man is to be punished by what? By death. Do you understand? So the two, there is different. When it is an actual violent rape, meaning the woman's consent is not there, she's completely innocent of it, the man has to be killed. But if the woman is not innocent of it, there was a consent, perhaps premarital sex or seductive sex or seductive grape or whatever, do you understand? But there is a consent. The woman is not completely innocent of it. She has one consent or the other into the activity. The man has to marry her, and that was not the biblical law rewarding the man. It was the biblical law forcing him to go into a lifelong commitment to that woman he has compromised. Meaning, you compromise this woman, you cannot leave her so that she will just be damaged in a society where women are vulnerable. You will have to be the one with her. You stay with her forever. Where also you have to understand that the father of the woman can also refuse. Maybe when he goes to pay the bride price, the father of the woman can also say no, he doesn't. As at that time, this is not an all-time moral principle. Shalom, guys.